It's the Brad and John Show.
Might help if I turn my microphone on. It is the Brad and John Show. It's the B block, the Bravo block. Today's October 22nd, and it's a Wednesday. John, you know what that happens? What happens in the B block?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
I think you were on perfect pitch that time. I am impressed.
Thank you, Brad.
Ladies, one more time.
It's time for Brad's Top. It's number 3.
That's what we start off with, number 3. Now, I'm sometimes upset that there's all this negative stuff that goes on in the news cycles and things like that. And I sometimes like to accentuate the positives about a company and a specific aircraft that gets lots of bad press. The company is Boeing. The aircraft is a 737 MAX. Remember we had the problems with 737 MAX where they grounded all the 737 MAX because of the crashes?
Yes, I remember that, Brad.
I don't know if you've heard this story, but the other day, a plane flying from west to east coast at 36,000 feet hit something. And at 36,000 feet, there are no birds, there are no eagles or anything like that. They hit something, hit right above actually it hit on the very corner of the cockpit window on the right side of the plane as you're sitting in the plane. The pilot sits left seat, the first officer sits right seat. It hit right above the frame of the window. It blew out part of the window. It's like, I think, a triple pane window. And even though the plane did not depressurize, it delaminated the interior window, and it sprayed the co-pilot, first officer, with glass. He got some injuries to his arm, the whole bit. Bottom line is the aircraft did not depressurize because at 36,000 feet, that would be a tremendous occurrence, which could end in catastrophe. They brought the plane down, declared an emergency, diverted the flight, and landed somewhere in between where I can't remember, from point A to point B. I will say this. For people who are always criticizing Boeing and the 737s, this could have been a catastrophic event. But instead, the plane survived it. Co-pilot got a little bit of arm action. You know, there's a picture of him. He's got like multiple, not bruises, but actually cuts from the glass exploding on the inside of the plane and hitting him in the arm. I think he got him in the face a little bit too. The plane came down. Everybody was safe, and nobody's talking about it. Everybody's going like, oh, my God, it's amazing. It's a 737 MAX. It should have crashed. No. Boeing builds excellent aircraft. And I'm not because they're a local company and because I have friends that still work at Boeing. I had lots of friends back in the day. I think half the kids I went to school with, their dad back in the day worked at, in the old days, Mac, and then it was McDonnell Douglas. They produce excellent aircraft, and sometimes there's a screw up or something like that. You know what? I get it. That fake door blew out in that one plane because they forgot to put the bolts in. Hey, come on. Give them some slack, right? Yes, Boeing 737 MAX, it survived a tremendous situation. And at first, the people were saying, well, what did it hit at 36,000 feet? The answer was, everybody thought it was space debris. And one person actually said, I read this online, one person said, it was one of Elon Musk's Starlink satellites deorbiting, coming out. No. You know what they're pretty sure it hit?
What was it?
A weather balloon.
Oh, wow. That would make sense, right?
Yes, because they put those weather balloons, they shoot those weather balloons up in the air, and I think this is a private company that has a contract with NOAA. And the reason they do this is they shoot these weather balloons up, and it sends back all this telemetry for data for essentially various layers of the atmosphere and that's how they use it in their prediction models. They can see winds alofts and things like that because, we're all accustomed to things on the ground when you're on the ground, what the weather's like. But it's not. Sometimes if you get up even 500-600 feet, the weather's totally different. The winds are different. And then when you get way up there, it's totally different as far as the atmosphere. First off, it's cold as hell. It's like minus 20 degrees or something like that. But anyway, 737 MAX, you did your job. I salute you. John, how's that?
I love it. Boeing should be telling that story, shouldn't they, Brad? They should be advertising that more.
I'm telling you, they should. They should be saying that. Okay, ready for number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
I saw this story, and it got me hooked because of the fact I thought to myself, okay, this must be some Liberal Bubba. Okay, the story comes out of North Carolina. It's a guy, and he has a rafting company, some kind of a rafting company. He's in the tourist business, and and part of this business is his mom's house. Has his mom's house there, and his mom has a bunch of Trump banners, a bunch of pro-Trump banners in their front yard, attached to the front porch and things like that. So the guy has got lots of security cameras around. So he's sitting at home one night, and he notices that someone just pulled up. He gets an alarm on one of his cameras. Someone pulled up, and guy jumps out of the car and starts ripping down the Trump banners. So this guy, remember this is North Carolina, this guy grabs his rifle, walks out of his front porch, fires a couple rounds in the air, and essentially yells, "Hey, get out of here." And the guy jumps in his car.
Just to scare him off, not to injure him, but to scare him off.
Right. Fired a couple rounds in the air. And this is in a rural area. The guy jumps in their car, and he opens up his sunroof and pulls out a gun and fires several rounds back at the guy, okay? Then he takes off, splits, comes back a few minutes later, fires several more rounds, a couple of which go through his mom's house. One of them lodges in the refrigerator, okay? And this guy's got all this camera footage, all this video cameras. If you see the article online, you can see all the different. There's a close-up of the guy's hand out through the top of the sunroof with the gun firing, stuff like that. They got the license number, and they tracked the guy down. And keep in mind, this is in North Carolina. Okay, do you think this is like some Bubba? Do you think this is like some blue-haired, Antifa person?
Yeah, I mean, who else would it be, Brad?
An accountant from Atlanta. A guy is 38 years old. He's a CPA, lives in Atlanta. Why would he be there?
He
was on vacation.
Oh, okay. And he was just, maybe he thought the rules don't apply. What happens in North Carolina stays in North Carolina.
I guess. I mean, but if you've ever seen, there's a couple funny videos out there. The one guy, and I think this goes back to the 2016 election where the people kept stealing his Trump signs in his front yard. Have you ever seen this one? It's actual. It's not fake. It's a real video. And the guy puts one of those cattle fence things on it. You know what I mean? Like the cattle brush up against. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, of course we do. Yeah,
the electric fence. You know that from working with Monsanto.
Yeah, the virtual fence. Yeah.
Right. No, this is not a virtual fence. This is the actual
a real fence.
Yeah,
it's a
real fence. But
yeah.
they electrify it. You know, so the cattle don't. You know, the cattle rub up against it. They get shocked. He electrified his sign. And then there's another one where a guy kept putting signs in his front yard, and people would drive. He puts them right up by the street, and people drive up into his front yard, and they would hit the sign. So he puts nails. He puts a board with nails in front of the sign, in the back of the sign. So some guy drove into his front yard, knocked the Trump sign down, and blew out his tire. But I mean, the bizarre thing about it is a 38-year-old accountant from Atlanta. John, if all your political fury, all the different times you've been upset about politics, would you ever, rip somebody's campaign banners or their yard signs down, and then when they fired a couple rounds at you, would you fire back at them with your pistol that I know you carry in your car?
Absolutely not. And just think of where you are mentally if you're stealing yard signs.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'll never understand how petty can be about, how petty people can be about politics. It just,
the rationale behind it, I think, is that there's no more effective advertising tool than a yard sign. I mean, it's not like you're going to go up on, it's not like you're going to do pirate radio and steal somebody's radio ads.
Yes.
You want to steal something that's effective. You want to steal a yard sign.
Right. Who would do that? Who would steal a radio ad? Okay, you ready for number one?
Yeah, give it to us, Brad.
Okay, here's a good number one.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
John, myself, was somewhat surprised at a picture I saw the other day of a track hoe, a commercial backhoe.
Easy, Brad, easy.
Tearing down part of the east wing of the White House. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I did see something about this.
On one hand, I've heard, Trump's talking about building the ballroom. Now, it does make sense because I'm not trying to be like a Trumper on this one, but The point that he made was if you have a big event at the White House, what do? And you've seen this before. They put up one of those big party tents. You know what I'm talking about, John? You've seen it probably.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Sometimes if you go into like fancy schmancy weddings, sometimes they have it outside and they have like the dinner outside in a park in the party tent and stuff like that. So Trump decided he's going to build a ballroom. Now, the interesting part of this is no government money. This is all private funding. I did not realize how quickly this thing had progressed to the point where they're tearing down the east part of the White House, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I have to double check this, I think my dad told me about this. I believe the east wing of the White House was built by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the late 30s, early 40s. I'll have to go back and check on that. But the point being is, yesterday I read this extensive article talking about how all the laws that President Trump has violated about tearing down this east wing of the White House and building his memorial ballroom, okay? And the interesting part of me as I'm reading this, the more I read it, and it cited all these regulations, they has to have this, they have to have a board, there's the White House Preservation Board, and there's this board, and there's this board, and there's government agency, and the National Park Service is involved. I think to myself, okay, this is one time when I think Trump is just like, I'm just going to build a ballroom. And I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm with you. And I know people are going to go, I can't believe he said that. He's a Trumper. This is a perfect example of what's wrong with government regulation. You can't do squat anymore without government regulation. I mean, every single step of the way. Trust me, I know I've had situations. I've got a situation right now where I'm fighting 2 different county governments, not 1, but 2, and to the point where it's like, guys, just leave me alone. Let me do my thing. I'm running my radio station. Don't bother me. But yet, no, they got to get involved in this. But the article goes on to talk about how it's terrible, how he really is a king, how he's this terrible person. He does what he wants. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's not costing the government any money. He's doing this with private funds. There's private contracting companies. There's a private, architect that's done all this. There's private engineering firms that have done the electrical, the plumbing, all this kind of stuff. I say, do it. I say, what's wrong with this, John? Your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think the question is putting aside the dictator and the fascist and the imperialist attitude. Who's going to stop him from doing it?
Well, that's the point, and the article was talking about, I think the article was timed, the article was published on Monday, and I think the article was timed as a refresher to the No Kings thing on Saturday. Look, he's doing whatever he wants. He's violating the law. He's doing this. He's doing that. He didn't do this. He didn't go before this board. He didn't get approval from this board. He didn't get approval from the National Park Service. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He didn't get a building permit from Washington, D.C. Well, guess what? He doesn't need a building permit because it's a federal property.
He doesn't need one, does he?
Right, he doesn't. And that's the crazy thing about it is I can tell you the story. Well, I won't go there because of the fact I get myself in trouble in that one. But anyway, I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's not costing. So then the article talked about, okay, he's not using any government funds, but what are his cronies going to want who donated money to build the memorial ballroom? Okay, John, I will ask you this question. If you are John Combest, and let's say you run John Combest drone company, and you're making millions and millions of dollars by selling drones to the government, and if you donate money to the Josh Hawley campaign, what are you trying to get out of that, John? What are you trying to get out of that, John?
I think, number one, you're looking for good government and the value of Josh Hawley. But maybe you want to have an open line of dialogue with Josh Hawley, and maybe sometime down the road, that relationship could lead to government contracts.
Do you think, John? You think that's the way it works?
Maybe.
That's the way it works. Okay, that's the end of my top 3. We still have 2 more minutes. Yesterday.
Yeah, I think you should. I think this would be a good time. I love when you have a hard stop because that keeps you going on for 12 minutes about a topic. Don't you have an HOA story you haven't shared before, Brad?
No, but I want to talk about the guest we had on yesterday, Mike Elam. And the article you sent me, this is out of the Missouri Scout. This is one of your, you like this guy. What's this guy's name?
Dave Drebus. Yeah, I've known Dave for a quarter century.
Can I just read this real quick? It's only 3 paragraphs. Ahead. Rumorville Elam Inn, ? One Mo Scouter tips that St. Charles County Executive Steve Ellman was at Catherine Hanaway's swearing-in event and telling folks that he's, quote, definitely running again. What it means, if Ellman officially reverses course and decides to run, that will probably give us a three-way Republican primary. Mike Elam would presumably drop out. He said that yesterday on the show, but I don't see Jason Law backing out, and Bill Eigel is likewise full steam ahead. Ellman had basically no cash on hand on last quarter. It's interesting because John said, we gave the campaign report, you sent that to me, and John said, since he has no money, that means he's not running. Isn't that what you said,
Yeah,
John?
that's exactly what I said. I don't waver on the things I say here, Brad. And when given the information, like the like the facts of fundraising, it certainly has showed that Steve Ellman hasn't put any. He certainly hasn't decided that he's running, and he hasn't put any money into his campaign.
Last paragraph says.
And Brad, remind me, did Steve Ellman confirm this with Dave, or is this Dave reporting what he heard?
This is Dave reporting what he's heard.
Okay, that's right. So you're declaring that I'm wrong about this, but Steve hasn't announced yet, right?
Let me finish this last paragraph, and then I'll tell you. Okay. Ellman had basically no cash in hand last quarter, but he has $1 million in name ID, having served as county executive for 2 decades. Okay, I do agree with that. I mean, don't you agree with the fact that people in St. Charles County, if they are really honest, they have to say, okay, things have been cooking along, the county's growing, things are good, law enforcement's good, crime's low, schools are relatively good, except for the crazy crap that goes on in Francis Hall with the superintendents and the superintendent crap out there in Wentzville. But other than that, things are good in St. Charles County. Don't you think, John?
I think a lot of people are really happy with the direction that St. Charles County is, particularly when you compare it to the alternative.
Right.
Do you compare it to St. Louis County? You don't want to live there. Obviously St. Louis City isn't an option. So what you're saying is the steady hand argument, let me continue to do this for 4 more years. I guess the argument, if you're Bill Eigel or Jason Law, is, Steve, if you really wanted to do this job, why didn't you just tell us a year ago that you wanted to keep doing this?
Well, maybe he's doing the old bamboozle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think if you're Steve and you're on Steve's team, you got to have a better answer than that. Compared to, well, if I don't run, Bill Eigel's going to get elected, and we don't want that.
Okay.
That's not a very good answer,
Why
hasn't Steve come out 6 months ago and say, I know I hinted that I would not be running, but I am going to run. I'm proud of what we've done. I want to continue to build on this.
Okay, you've just given the answer I would give if I was Steve Ellman.
Which is the latter?
No, the answer, if someone asked me, okay, I'm Steve Ellman. Ask me why I didn't. Let's say,
why didn't you announce sooner, Steve?
Let's say on Friday I'm Steve Ellman, and
I got you. Say the Bill Eigel thing, Brad. Why? Hey, proverbial Steve. Why didn't you tell us sooner that you're running?
Good question. Thank you very much, reporter John Combes. Why did I not tell you? Because I wanted to essentially show you how crazy Bill Eigel is, and that if you elected him, the county would go to hell in a handbasket. And you think HOAs are bad? Bill Eigel would impose all sorts of laws on all of us, and he would essentially make us fly American flags in each one of our front yards, and he would have that Nick Schroer guy be his assistant, and they would take over the county, and they would essentially make everything worse because that's the way Bill Eigel does things. How's that, John?
I think if you're Steve, that's fantastic, Brad. Excellent job.
No,
you can tell that you've been around Steve for many years. That was a spot-on impression. And also, if you're Steve, you know that when you go to Jeff City and you start telling people, oh, I'm running, oh, I'm in, oh, I'm tired of waiting for Jason to get out of this race and support Mike, I'm going to run. You know that there's about 20 people standing around you that have their phone out that are texting Jake Croson and Scott Fawn and Dave Drebus and saying, Ellman's in. I just heard he told Teddy Tiddlywinks that he's definitely running. You got to put that in your newsletter tomorrow. I'm
a good friend of Teddy, by the way, and Teddy would probably say that.
You would be. You seem like a guy that would be friends with a Ted.
Okay. All I'll say is I don't want to get myself in trouble. I have an inside source, and I already know the answer. But I'm not going to say.
Oh, yeah? Are they going to support Brad Hildebrand for county exec?
Well, I will say this. I've already launched my Brad Hildebrand for County Executive campaign where I'm going to get rid of, unlike Bill Eigel, who was selective about the taxes he's going to get rid of, I'm going to get rid of all taxes. Everything.
Every tax.
Every single tax. I don't care.
Even sales tax.
Sales tax, it's all going away. The sales tax, well, the only problem is I can't get rid of state sales tax, but I can get rid of all the county sales tax. It's going to zero. It's going to be like tax-free, August tax-free days in August. It's going to be like that 365 days a year, and in leap year, it'd be 366 days a year. And I will essentially say this. I will put in, next to the county government center, I will put in a new banquet hall where we can have all sorts of things going on, and that will be paid for by private funds. But the problem is, if Steve Ellman decides that he's going back in the race, I will back out as long as Mike Elam does as well, too. We'll both back out. So that'll be the situation. What do you think, John?
What a plan, Brett. I thought there was already a top-notch banquet hall in Labadee. Is it right next to an award-winning restaurant, though?
John listens to the station. Thank you very much. Okay, we have to take a break.